Okay, let's dive into this big change that has quietly happened, reshaping the financial plumbing for millions of Americans. We are talking about the official mandatory end of the paper check era for almost all federal benefits.
That's a huge distinction. The transition, driven by Executive Order 14247, it finalized the shift to electronic payments as of September 30, 2025. So for the vast majority of people receiving money from the government, Social Security, VA benefits, SSI, railroad retirement paper checks are now potentially obsolete.
And it's crucial to understand the scale of this. Our sources show that as late as July 2025,
Which is really recent.
exactly, just a moment ago, over 521,000 individual payments were still being sent via paper check. The government pushed this change primarily to cut administrative costs, yes, but also to seriously prevent the massive fraud, theft, and delays. All that stuff associated with physical mail.
Exactly. I mean, when you have checks getting lost or stolen, it creates a massive burden on the recipient and, frankly, on the Treasury. So our mission today is to cut through the noise and give you the necessary knowledge. We're going to explain the two primary electronic paths available to you, detail the exact process of switching, and most importantly, critically evaluate the real-world user experience, the reliability of the major banking and prepaid card options the sources discuss.
I appreciate that we're focusing on the real-world experience because the customer service quality for some of these government-backed options is, well, it's frankly shocking. We have the data and the user complaints to back it up.
We do. But first, let's address the core question. Is there any way to keep the paper check? The answer is almost certainly no. Paper checks will continue only for beneficiaries who meet specific, very rare hardship criteria. And these waivers are a high bar, granted only by the U.S. Treasury, not by the Social Security Administration itself.
So the paper check is not entirely extinct, but it's definitely the rarest bird in the payment ecosystem.
Very much so. Let's move into the mechanics here. The entire system of federal benefits, whether it's SSA or VA, it uses the ACH, the Automated Clearinghouse Network, for what we all just call direct deposit. This is the secure, reliable standard for electronic transfers.
And for those who are trying everything they can to hold on to a physical check, you mentioned those limited exceptions. How specific are these criteria? They didn't make this easy, did they?
They did not. It is difficult because you have to petition the Treasury directly by filing Form FS Form 1201W, and you have to meet one of three incredibly specific criteria.
Okay, lay out the three hoops.
First, there's the age 90 or older rule. You must have been born on or before May 1st, 1921. And this is the key part. You must have already been receiving paper checks as of March 1st, 2013. That effectively grandfathered in a small, closed group of long-time beneficiaries.
Wait, so just being over 90 isn't enough? You had to be a paper check recipient over a decade ago?
That's right.
That means this exception applies to almost nobody new? That really underscores the finality of this mandate.
It does. The second criterion is mental impairment. So if electronic payments would cause genuine hardship due to a cognitive or mental disability that makes managing a digital account, impossible. And the third is remote geography, basically living in an area that simply lacks the necessary infrastructure. No functioning banking services, no reliable internet access.
So, assuming you don't live on a remote island and you're not that specific age, you have to switch. Let's look at the easiest, most streamlined ways to enroll.
You essentially have three convenient routes. The first is online, which is the fastest. You can use the official My Social Security portal or the government's dedicated enrollment site, godirect.gov. The second is by phone. You can call the U.S. Treasury Electronic Payment Solutions Center.
And the third option caters to those who really need that in-person or paper interaction.
Correct. You can always go in person to a local SSA office for assistance, or you can use a paper form, specifically mailing form SF1199A, to the paying agency. But here's a pro tip from the sources. Often, your financial institution can actually handle the heavy lifting for you. Many banks and credit unions can enroll customers using the ACH network's own automated enrollment, or ENR, process. This is often the preferred method by the agencies because it minimizes user error.
That is a great tip. Let the bank deal with the bureaucracy if they can. Now, when you call or enroll online, what essential pieces of information do you absolutely need to have sitting on the desk beside you?
Okay, you'll need your basic identity info, social security number, date of birth, and some claim info, usually found on a recent check. Then, for the financial institution details, you need two critical numbers, the bank's 9-digit routing number and your specific account number, plus, of course, whether it's a checking or savings account.
And I remember seeing a very specific warning in the source material about getting that routing number wrong.
Yes, this is a major administrative massive hurdle people often miss. If you grab the 9-digit routing number off a deposit slip, you have to check it carefully. If that number starts with a 5, it is often an internal routing number, and it won't be valid for direct deposit. You need the external ACH routing number.
So what's the safe way to get it?
If you are unsure, get the routing number from a physical check, or ideally just call the financial institution directly. That tiny error could completely interrupt your benefits.
That is serious. If you get the wrong number, you could be waiting 30 days while they sort out where your money went.
Exactly.
Great, actionable advice. We've established you have to switch. So, let's look at the gold standard. Option A, direct deposit. How does this route change the user's relationship with their money?
Direct deposit is generally considered the fastest, most secure, and most stable way to receive benefits. It deposits funds directly into a checking or savings account you already control. It gives you immediate access and all the consumer protections inherent in traditional banking.
And when you transition, especially if you're moving your deposit from an old account to a new one, there is a critical safeguard people often forget.
Yes, you must allow time for the system to catch up. The rule of thumb is simple. Avoid closing your old account until you have successfully received at least 2 deposits into the new account. The entire transition period can sometimes take 30 to 60 days to verify the new account information. Closing the old account prematurely guarantees you'll be in payment limbo.
That's a key piece of stability advice. Now, let's pivot to option B, the alternative designed specifically for the, roughly 6% of Americans who are unbanked, the Direct Express or DX card.
The Direct Express card is a government-backed prepaid debit card. It's primarily used by recipients of federal benefits like SSA, SSI, and VA. The accessibility is really its key selling point. You don't need an existing bank account, there was no credit check, and no minimum balance is required to sign up.
That sounds like an invaluable solution for those without access to traditional banking. But what about the cost structure? Is this really a free service?
Well, most core services are indeed free. No sign-up cost, no monthly fees, and typically one free ATM withdrawal per deposit at authorized network ATMs. However, the costs begin immediately if you deviate from those standard services. The forces highlight several hidden fees that can stack up really quickly for vulnerable users.
Like what? What are people getting hit with?
If you use an out-of-network ATM, you're hit with an 85-cent network fee. If you need to make a larger withdrawal and go inside a bank, that costs a steep $10.
$10, wow.
Yeah. If your card is lost or stolen, replacing it costs $4. And for those facing an emergency after fraud or loss, needing that new card, quickly expedited shipping costs $13.50.
So the core product is free, but the cost of convenience or dealing with an emergency is quite high. You mentioned 90% of beneficiaries use the DX mobile app. What are the most important features there?
The app is crucial because for many of these beneficiaries, their smartphone is their primary or only way to access the internet and manage their money. Beyond just checking the balance, the app's value is in security and control. You can view detailed transaction history, use biometric login like Face ID, and crucially, customize security alerts. You can set an alert to notify you the moment your deposit lands, or if your balance drops below a specific amount you set, which really helps with budgeting.
That is empowering. But what practical tips do cardholders need to know when using the DX card in the real world? We see massive complaints about temporary holds or blocking.
This is the biggest stability risk for someone living deposit to deposit. Merchants like hotels, rental car companies, and especially pay-at-the-pump gas stations often place a temporary block or hold on the card. This hold is often much higher than the actual purchase, sometimes up to $100 for gas to cover the estimated final cost. So even though you may have only bought $10 worth of gas, the hold temporarily removes that larger amount from your available balance, usually for 24 to 72 hours.
And for someone relying on that exact balance for rent or food, that temporary hold is devastating. How do they avoid it?
For gas, the answer is simple. Do not pay at the pump. Pay the cashier inside the station when they charge you the exact amount. For hotels or rental cars, you just have to make sure your card balance is high enough to cover the estimated hold amount.
That's excellent context. Now let's shift to section 3, the critical user experience part, because this is where the sources reveal some really serious issues regardless of which route you choose.
Right. If the government mandates electronic payments, the assumption is that the infrastructure supporting it, the banks and the prepaid card providers, will be robust. But the user feedback tells a very different story.
Let's start with one of the recommended banks that receives federal deposits, BMO Bank, formerly BMO Harris Bank. According to Consumer Affairs analysis, user feedback gives them a dismal 1.2 out of 5 stars. What is going wrong?
The primary failure point is customer service. Users reported severe difficulties, including hold times that routinely lasted 2 hours or more, getting contradictory or inconsistent information when they finally reached someone, and difficulty getting through to domestic support. This is compounded by reports of unexpected account closures and unexplained deposit delays. We saw one report of a 7-business-day hold on a settlement check due to a mysterious hold.
That level of service failure is unacceptable when dealing with essential benefits. Now, how does the designated government-backed Direct Express card stack up?
It's worse, unfortunately. Direct Express has a reported user rating of 1.1 out of 5 stars.
1.1.
Yeah. The complaints mirror those of BMO, but they're intensified. Agents described as rude or uncooperative, reports of agents hanging up on customers, and long hold times that feel deliberate.
The fraud resolution process are particularly concerning.
It creates a crisis for the recipient. Multiple users reported that after unauthorized charges were reported, the standard procedure was to close the card immediately, leaving them without access to funds. They then had to wait 10 to 14 days for a new card, unless they paid that $13.50 expedite fee. Furthermore, the fraud investigation itself was reported to take anywhere from 45 to 90 days.
You're dealing with poverty and a fixed income, and they remove your access to your funds for 10 days and make you wait 90 days for resolution, unless you pay a steep fee. Given these abysmal satisfaction scores, why does this system remain the mandated alternative for the unbanked? What does this tell us about the priority placed on that vulnerable group?
It raises a vital question about the accountability mechanisms in place for these government contracts. And if direct deposit users are experiencing issues with major banks, or if Direct Express users want a more reliable option, the sources did point to high-quality alternatives.
What were the recommended disability-friendly options?
The sources highly recommend looking at credit unions, which frequently provide better, more personalized service and fewer fees. Top alternatives identified were Alliant Credit Union, which offers no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and early direct deposit. Navy Federal Credit Union, if you meet their eligibility requirements. And Chase Bank was cited as a solid, traditional banking option with robust infrastructure.
Moving on to protection. The government forces the switch, so what consumer rights protect that money once it hits your bank account?
This is critical protection that everyone needs to know. Federal law ensures garnishment protection. Banks are legally required to automatically protect the most recent 2 months of federal benefits, SSA, SSI, VA, from garnishment. So if a creditor or a debt collector tries to freeze the account, the bank has to ensure you have immediate access to that protected 2-month sum.
And what if your bank decides they don't like you or your account anymore? What notice are they required to give?
If your bank receives federal benefits deposits, they have to provide you with a 30-day advance written notice before closing the account. This gives the recipient time to arrange a new payment method with the SSA. The only exception is in rare cases where the bank can prove the closure is necessary due to immediate fraud risk.
And let's briefly mention that this mandatory payment shift is just one small part of a larger systemic shift toward digitization happening inside the SSA itself.
That's right. There is an ongoing effort known as the Paperless PSC Project, which is actively converting existing physical claims records, those decades of folders and documents, into electronic forms. The entire government apparatus is moving toward a fully digital workflow.
That brings us squarely to Section 4, digital literacy and scams. If customer service is terrible at the federal payment level, your best defense is preparing yourself. We have to talk about digital readiness.
Because everything is moving online, having access and knowledge becomes vital. Fortunately, there are free resources available to help you navigate this transition safely. For instance, Senior Planet from AARP offers a course called Ready, Set, Bank, specifically designed to teach older adults how to safely use online banking tools.
That is huge, especially for people who grew up only using cash or paper checks. What else is out there for people needing physical assistance accessing the necessary tools?
The nonprofit Everyone On works specifically to connect low-income individuals to affordable internet service and low-cost computers, which are essential prerequisites for accessing these paperless systems. You also have the Money Smart for Older Adults curriculum, jointly developed by the FDIC and the CFPB, which is used nationwide to teach fraud prevention and electronic money management.
Let's talk about fraud avoidance, which flourishes when these big transitions happen. What is the single most important rule for verifying official communication?
The rule is simple, and you must internalize it. Official electronic communication from government entities, whether it's an email or a document, will only come from a .gov domain. If you receive an email or text with poor grammar, requests for immediate downloads, or embedded links from anything that doesn't end in .gov, just treat it as a scam.
So if you get a suspicious email, your rule is never click the link. What do you do instead?
Always call the federal agency directly. Do not use any contact information provided in the suspicious email or text. Go look up the official phone number yourself on the official verified.gov website.
And since the SSA is pushing hard for paperless records, can you truly eliminate all paper mail from them?
You can eliminate most of the routine correspondence. If you log into your My Social Security account and go into the Message Center, you can set online-only notice preferences. This stops paper copies of annual documents like COLA notices and your SSA 1 in 99 tax forms. However, certain complex legal documents or notices involving representative payees may still arrive via physical mail due to long-standing legal or policy requirements.
And finally, for individuals who are blind or visually impaired, the SSA has made sure that accessibility is built into this shift.
Absolutely. The SSA offers notices in several non-standard formats to ensure access. Standard print with Braille, a data CD, which is just a Microsoft Word file, an audio CD, and large print notices in 18-point size. You just need to contact them to ensure your preference is on file. So, to recap our deep dive, the mandatory shift to electronic payments is permanent, but the choice you make between the speed and security of direct deposit and the required accessibility of a Direct Express card should be made critically. Our research shows that both the Direct Express program and certain major banks exhibit severe documented customer service challenges, meaning you really need to prioritize reliability and consumer protections when choosing your financial partner.
That's the key takeaway. The bureaucracy has digitized, and that means you need to digitize your defense. Now that you know the SSA is digitizing documents and moving payments entirely online, the single most important action you can take to protect yourself isn't just securing your bank account or watching out for a phishing link. It's securing your digital identity at the very first gate. Specifically, you must ensure your login methods for your crucial My Social Security account are protected via multi-factor authentication services like login.gov